All right, so we are in chapter 2. This is the second lesson of chapter 2. And as we just talked about, in this chapter, we're trying to focus on trying to figure out the cause the cause behind why the carbon dioxide went down in the biosphere. So chapter 2 question, what caused the carbon dioxide to decrease in the air, which is abiotic matter, of the biodome? This was the article that you were supposed to read, A Feast for Decomposers. And in that article, you would have read a whole lot about cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is a process that takes the energy storage molecules that the producers make and turns it into energy for the organism that's consuming them. So, if we look back at this diagram, the article says in the cell parts called the mitochondria, so remember chloroplasts, photosynthesis, mitochondria, cellular respiration. Glucose, an energy storage molecule, plus oxygen, so here's glucose, here's our oxygen, combine to make carbon dioxide, that's what we're exhaling, plus water, and releasing energy. So you're taking ultimately that sun from the energy, transferring it into biotic matter in the plant, and then releasing that energy during cellular respiration. So we've been investigating how carbon dioxide gets into the air so that we can figure out why there was less and less of it in the biodome. The experiment in the video showed evidence that producers and consumers give off carbon dioxide. That was the video with the plant and the Elodia, which is the plant, and the snail. The article that you should have read, A Feast for Decomposers, indicated that decomposers give off carbon dioxide too. What are some examples of decomposers that you read about? Well, we didn't read. So what are some examples of decomposers? Does anybody know? What is a decomposer? Let's back up since we didn't read. What is a decomposer? Madison?
An organism that eats dead matter.
Yeah, an organism that eats dead matter or an organism that breaks down dead matter. It takes the energy storage molecules from that dead matter, okay? And then ultimately uses them through the process of cellular respiration, releases them, and also gives off carbon dioxide at the same time. Any examples of decomposers? You know what?
Butterflies.
Butterflies, how?
They eat they eat dead animals.
Butterflies eat pollen from flowers.
Yeah, they also.
They're consumers. But I'll look it up. I mean, there'll be something new that I've learned. Are the actual butterfly or the caterpillar part?
Like,
You don't know? I'm gonna look it up. There'll be something new I learned. Thank you. Anything else?
Mushrooms.
Mushrooms, right? Fungi. Anything else? Oh, there's slippery, slimy things that crawl through the ground.
Worms.
Worms. Worms are huge decomposers. Without worms, we wouldn't have healthy soil. So worms are very important decomposers. Anything else?
like bacteria.
Yes, bacteria. Nice job. In the ocean, there's bacteria. You read, didn't you? Good job, Madison. In the ocean, there's bacteria, and that bacteria breaks down dead fish. Specifically, I talked about whales, breaking down whales that die in the ocean. So there's bacteria in the ocean. There's bacteria in the soil. Okay, so there's that's why I shouldn't eat dirt, right? Because there's bacteria in it. There's bacteria in all different kinds of places. Anything else? What grows on your fruit if you leave it in the fridge too long? Mold. Mold is also a decomposer. So all of these types of organisms break down dead matter, okay, and they get energy storage molecules from it. So a decomposer is an organism that gets energy storage molecules, such as glucose, by breaking down dead matter. Worms, termites, mushrooms, fungi, soil bacteria, mold, aquatic bacteria, and small insects are all examples of decomposers. So now that we know which organisms give off carbon dioxide, we'll learn how this happens. Which organisms give off carbon dioxide? If you had to redo that poll all over again, what would you pick? Give me one.
All of them, besides for the dead leaves.
Okay, definitely not dead leaves, but I want specifically which organisms give off carbon dioxide.
Consumers.
Consumers is one. Oh boy.
Producers.
Producers. And the one we just talked about? Decomposers. Thank you guys. All right, we got lots of noses hanging out. We're going to put our masks over our noses. Thank you. Leave it up. So those are the ones that give off carbon dioxide. So now we're going to figure out how this happens. Today you're going to use the sim to investigate our question. You're going to compare the diagram from a feast for decomposers with the ones that you see when you press view cell for each organism in the sim. We did something very similar for photosynthesis, right? You looked at the diagram of photosynthesis and you watched the video of the chloroplast and what it was doing, and you compared the two. So we're going to do the same thing today for cellular respiration. So you'll have this diagram, and you'll compare that to what's going in the mitochondria of all the organisms, because it happens in all of them. So let's go to Google Classroom then and open up today's work. So today's number 2, which is observing cellular respiration, is what you should be opening. And it says to follow the directions in today's slides to complete. Our direction said to just complete part 1. So that's where we're going to start. You will use what you see when you press view cell along with the diagram from the article to learn more about cellular respiration. These two models will help you to answer the investigation question, how do organisms give off carbon dioxide? Here's our directions. Open the Matter and Energy Ecosystem sim. So you're going to click the link and open our sim. I'll kind of wait to see everyone's sims open. What are we doing? Number 2 for today, Jacob. Direction number 1. All right, so we did step 1. Step 2, press play, then view cell for all the different organisms. Compare what you see in the sim to the diagram below from a Feast for Decomposers article. And think about these questions. So I'm going to ask these questions in a couple of minutes. And then you may call on you randomly. I'm not going to go with who raises our hand because we don't raise our hands. Well, except for 3 people. So expect to be called on, so make sure you're engaged. So what is similar about the cells in the sim and the article? What is different? And what do models tell you about how what do the models tell you about how the organisms give off carbon dioxide? So this is the diagram. And you're comparing that. Let's see if I can. You're comparing this diagram to what you see happening over here. So once you click play, it's not going to let me because I made it little. When this is going, on each one, you're going to click View Cell. And watch the mitochondria. The little blue circles are oxygen. Remember the chocolate chip cookies that look like chocolate chip cookies? Those are energy storage molecules. And then when it changes, we get carbon dioxide and water. That's for the producer. So you're going to compare that to, oh boy, trying to make it easier, making it harder. Compare it to what's going on over here. Okay, I'll leave this diagram up nice and big so that you can compare what you're looking at on your screens to what the diagram of cellular respiration looks like. You should be asking yourself, is it the same stuff going in to the mitochondria? And is it the same stuff coming out of the mitochondria? And then you want to do that for each cell. The producer, the secondary, the primary consumer, and the decomposer. I will come around and help if you need it. So this is the all right, similar. So what you saw is that similar to our diagram here. Addison? Good. So they both end up producing carbon dioxide and water. Okay? Anything else? For similar. There's more similarities. This is the easy one. Okay, so we got glucose, which is an energy storage molecule, and oxygen going into the mitochondria. Okay, so we have energy storage molecules and oxygen going into the mitochondria. How about any other similarities? This just happens to be the producer. But I also want to take a look at a different one. So let's look at a consumer. All right. Any other different or similarities? How about differences? Let's go back to this diagram. What can you find different? Something very obvious is different. Cody, what's one difference between the picture and the video or the sim? Not even specific, just very general. What is the sim doing that this picture is not doing? Repeating, right? So it's moving, right? One's actually moving, the other one's just a picture, okay? Brody?
Energy isn't coming out.
Yeah, you're not seeing that energy being released, right? In this diagram, you have the energy here, but in the sim, it's not showing that energy being released, okay? Anything else that's different between the two? Can anybody explain to me how organisms give off carbon dioxide? How does that happen? I'll break it down for you. Madison, what goes in? Good. Jacob, what does it go into?
Mitochondria.
Nice job. Mitochondria, right? So the chloroplast is the magic factory for photosynthesis. The mitochondria is the magic factory for carbon dioxide and energy in consumers. So what comes out? What comes out, Phoenix? One thing. Very good. Carbon dioxide. Yep. Sierra, you're next. What comes out? Water molecules. And Tessa? The last thing that comes out? Energy. Very good. Awesome. So cellular respiration. In goes glucose and oxygen into the mitochondria. Out comes energy, carbon dioxide, and water molecules. $1 million question. Is this a chemical reaction?
Yes.
Rosemary says yes. How do we know it's a chemical reaction?
Nathan said so.
No. How do we know it's a chemical reaction? What do we see here that says it's a chemical reaction? What are the atoms doing? Go ahead, Rosemary.
There's the glucose and oxygen
Starts with an R. Reactants. Yep.
Carbon dioxide and water are the products.
Are the products. Good. And all of the atoms did what? Rearrange, right? They all switch around. So cellular respiration is also a chemical reaction that occurs in your cells. All right, let's look at part 2. Oh, actually, let's see if we're ready for part 2. Got to follow the directions. All right, we talked about that already. So cellular respiration is the chemical reaction between oxygen and glucose that releases energy into the cells. During cellular respiration, atoms rearrange, but they don't appear or disappear. All the same atoms are still there after the reaction, just rearranged into new molecules, just like photosynthesis does. We know photosynthesis requires sunlight. Next, we're going to use the sim to investigate whether cellular respiration requires sunlight. So first, look for which parts of an ecosystem perform cellular respiration by observing which parts give off carbon dioxide to the abiotic matter. So once we get going, you're going to look at each of these. You're going to look at each of these organisms, and you're going to see which are giving off carbon dioxide to the air. Which ones should be?
All of them.
All of them, yes. Then you're going to turn off the sunlight to see how it affects cellular respiration in the ecosystem. Observe which parts of the ecosystem give off carbon dioxide when the sunlight is turned off. So let's go back to our document then. Hunter, we're on the number 2 for today, part 2. You already have the sim open. You're going to click play. Let's reset them. Let's throw on one. So in your sims, reset. So it looks like that. Click play. Observe the sim. Which parts of the ecosystem perform cellular respiration? So if we click play, I can see that the producers have carbon dioxide going to the air, the consumers do, the secondary consumers, and the decomposers. What's different about the producers compared to the other 3? Jacob?
No, they're not taking any carbon dioxide in.
They're not?
With the sun off.
Well, we haven't turned the sun off yet.
I told you to.
No, I didn't. Right now, what's the difference between the producers and the other 3 organisms?
Only the producers are bringing in the carbon dioxide,
And
giving off carbon dioxide.
right, so all of them give off carbon dioxide, but producers do both, right? I bet you never knew that. Like you always thought producers took in carbon dioxide and we give off carbon dioxide, but producers actually do both, okay? So now I believe our next direction, Jacob, will be to turn off the sunlight in the ecosystem. Observe whether the amount of sunlight affects which parts of the ecosystem perform cellular respiration. Once you do that, I want you to highlight your answers for the 2 questions here. Okay? So we're going to turn the sunlight off. Take a look and see what happens. And answer your 2 questions. Once you've answered your 2 questions, you can turn that in. Once you answer your 2 questions, you turn it in, and then you can actually close your Chromebooks. That way I'll know you're done.
What's that one that looks really growing up?
This one?
Yeah.
This, I remember I said I don't know. It's either a zinnia or a daisy. It's beginning to look like a daisy to me. It's about to bloom, too. And it got really big, like really fast. Maybe we'll get some more blooms over here, too. And then that's lavender.
At first, it looked like it was almost trying to grow up into the.
I know, I had to pull it out. I had to take it out of the whole unit because it was getting smushed up there and the roots were getting into the pump. Are we done, Jacob? Yeah, if you're done, just close so I know. Okay, great. Let's finish up. So, what did you learn about cellular respiration from observing the sim? If I tell you to turn and talk to a partner, are you actually going to talk? Let's try it. Turn to a partner and tell them what you've learned about cellular respiration. Tell them what goes in and what comes out. Phoenix, turn right around. The 3 of you can talk right here. The 3, or you 2, that's fine. Doesn't matter. You can move up a little bit. Oh, what about you? Come over here. Come talk. You guys got to start talking to one another. So tell them what goes in, what comes out.
Energy storage. And
30 seconds. Keep talking, that doesn't mean stop. You guys actually talk to each other. It's just me you don't want to talk to. Okay. I get it. It's all good. All right, so what did we learn? Someone share with me. Let's say it again. What is cellular respiration? How does it work? Go ahead, Nathan. You're up.
Going along with what we learned in the sim, you sort of need sunlight, but you sort of don't.
Why?
The cellular respiration doesn't need the sunlight.
Correct.
But the producers need the sunlight in order to make the energy storage molecules for the consumers to do the cellular respiration.
Yes, I suppose if you let it run long enough, and I didn't, but if you did, if the producer runs out of energy storage molecules, then that may ultimately affect the cellular respiration. Interesting. Right, so going into cellular respiration, that is energy storage molecules. What else? Oh boy. Ready? And oxygen. Very good. Those 2 things have to go in to the mitochondria in order for cellular respiration to happen. So you have to eat and you have to breathe. That is why you have to eat and breathe, is for cellular respiration to happen. If cellular respiration doesn't happen, your cells don't get the energy they need to work and they start to die. Your organs start to shut down. That is why we must eat and we must breathe. Okay? All right, so by observing the sim, you should have noticed that all living things perform cellular respiration. Dead matter does not perform cellular respiration, and sunlight does not affect which parts of the ecosystem give off carbon dioxide. Photosynthesis and cellular respiration are similar and different in several ways. Both processes take place inside cells, but photosynthesis only happens in producers, while cellular respiration happens in all organisms. In a way, these processes are opposites. Through photosynthesis, producers make energy storage molecules, and through cellular respiration, all organisms use these molecules to release energy. Photosynthesis requires energy from the sun, but in cellular respiration, energy is released. So that is the end of lesson 6. Tomorrow we're going to plant some grass and then do a short lesson. Have a great day.